This is Wednesday, August 17th, meaning it's one thing here on the Gonzaga Nation Media Network and the Iso Podcast. It means it is Mailbag Wednesday, where I take your questions, whatever they may be, in regards to Gonzaga basketball in general, maybe my career, and I do my best to answer them and share some insight. So right off the bat, if you've got a question, email it to me, dickow@scorebooklive.com. Hit me up on social media, Twitter Dan Dickau 21, Instagram @DDickau 21, or send it to one of our Gonzaga Nation SI media channels. It's Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, and I believe even TikTok these days. So let's get right into it. Tom from Spokane asks, what are your thoughts on JP Batista returning to Gonzaga? Well, Tom, first off, thanks for the question. I did a quick podcast on Monday where we released it in regards to JP returning. I think it's tremendous. I think it's awesome. He had posted a picture on, I think it was Instagram or Twitter, I'm not quite sure, about being back in Spokane and being in the new McCarthy Athletic Center. And I just sent him a quick message back and said, hey, you're in town. If you want to get a chance to work, if you need a gym to work out at, feel free to use my Shoot 360 Spokane up on the north side. And at that point he had said, well, I'm actually going to be here because I'm going to be the new GA. And so I've been kind of holding on to that knowledge for a week or two. And I think, it was right to allow the school to kind of do their normal process of announcing that. But I think it's awesome that JP is back. The knowledge that he has, the experience that he has as a player, the love of the game that he has, I think those are all tremendous things to be able to add to the coaching staff. So looking forward to having him back. Best of luck with your start of your coaching career, JP. Next question. Bill in Portland asks, I've seen on Instagram Kyle Wiltshire, Ben Gregg, and even now Jeremy Jones playing open gym at University of Portland. Is that normal for college players to play at a rival college? Good question, Bill. Yes, that's absolutely normal. That, especially when your career is done. I mean, those guys are all pros now. Well, Ben's still a college player, but Kyle, Jeremy, those guys are pros, and they got to find different places to get good runs at in the summers. And a lot of times, one of the best places is your local college, where there's a set time, there's a great facility to be able to be used by guys. And so if you watch, and I did see a couple of those clips, if you watch those clips, there's overseas pros. There's current high-level college players in those games. There's occasionally an NBA player too comes through. So, it's kind of one of those things where high-level players are constantly searching and finding, the best runs that they can get at during the summer to keep their game sharp. And the fact that most colleges do open up the gym for other high-level players is awesome. I mean, I look back at my career. We used to play at Lewis and Clark over in southeast or southwest Portland. We used to play at the University of Portland. We used to play at Portland State. We used to also play at Clark College Community College in Vancouver. So we would go find places all over. And typically your better players kind of, tend to organize and figure out where they're going to kind of play on a fairly normal schedule. But yes, good question there, Bill. So thanks for that. Next up is Mark from San Diego. He asks, if you have to pick one GU player for another sport, what would it be? I got three here for you. The first one is probably pretty typical of what everybody would answer, and that would be Jalen Suggs with football. Everybody knows he was a top 5 football and basketball recruit, decided to play basketball, came to Gonzaga, one and done, just finished his rookie year with the NBA with the Orlando Magic. So that's an easy one. The other two, I'm going to go Richie Fromm with baseball. Richie and I grew up in the same area of Vancouver. I went to Prairie. He went to rival high school Battleground. He was a tremendous baseball player. I think he could have played baseball at the college level, maybe even the professional level, and tried to work his way up. The way, some guys, just when you play against them growing up or you see them later on, they're a little different in that sport. And to me, Richie was just a little different in that sport than most guys growing up. But he loved basketball more than baseball. And many times that's what it comes down to, is what do you love the most and what are you most willing to sacrifice to be great at? And that's what Richie did to get himself to Gonzaga and then to the NBA. And then the third one would be Blake Stepp with football. He only played 1 year of high school football, and that was after he signed with Gonzaga to play basketball. But I understand, and then in 1 year, without ever having a background of football, his numbers were off the charts. We used to play football in the field at Gonzaga, where we'd have a recruiting town and we split the teams up and we'd play. Usually Blake would be a quarterback on one team and I'd be a quarterback on the other team. I could get the ball where it needed to go, but it was not going to be in a spiral. But when you watch Blake throw it, I mean, that thing was on a rope. It was on a string. He probably could have been a really good quarterback if you look at it, because he's got great size. He was 6'4", 6'5", big, strong. And if he would have lifted in a way to be a football player, he would have bulked up, I'm sure, and been had the ability to have a really nice college football career. So those would have been my three. And the last question comes from Mike in Pullman. He asks, whatever happened to the Kansas Gonzaga series that was supposed to happen this year? I have no idea. That's a good one. And it just kind of silently went away. I mean, you didn't hear a lot of fanfare about that series being taken off the schedule that you would have imagined, but that might have been because they added so many other good games after it got taken. I mean, you added Baylor in South Dakota, you add the Michigan State game on the aircraft carrier in San Diego, and then most recently in the last couple of weeks, you had Kentucky. Granted, it's at the Spokane Arena, but when you add those three and you do take off Kansas, there can't be that much disappointment. I would imagine, and I touched on this, I think on a mailbag a couple of weeks ago, I would imagine, there's only a few schools that haven't done a home and home with Gonzaga. I would imagine Kansas and Gonzaga will get that done in the very near future. I went back and I listened to it. I think I said Duke hasn't done a home and home, which I'd love to see. I think Villanova would be a great ad for a home and home. Virginia would be a great ad for a home and home. I think another one would be, just for the iconic name, would be Indiana. And then if you put Kansas as a home and home, now Gonzaga has played Kansas and they've gone to Kansas and played before. But those couple right there, you add those schools and maybe like an Ohio State or a Michigan to come to the kennel, because Michigan State's already been there. You're starting to talk about Gonzaga's literally hosted almost every big name program. I mean, you could get nitpicky. You could say Georgetown, you could say St. John's, but those aren't the true blue bloods like the ones we were just talking about. The Duke, the Kansas, etc. So, good question, Mike. And yeah, I really wish I had a better answer for you, but I think the fact you take them off and add the three other games that I just mentioned, I think shows you that Gonzaga is willing to schedule literally anybody, anytime, anywhere. And they're now at the point where they are home and homes, not one-off games. So appreciate the questions. Send them again my way, Dickau@scorebooklive.com. Take care. Have a great day.